Hello students, my name is Bert Bambach. I'm a lecturer of Avans University of Applied Science. This is the second video about ISO 31000 and security management. If you did not see part 1, please take notice, because in part 1 we also explain why we use ISO 31000 in the project of Secure EU. This video will concern the next objectives. Understanding why to work with ISO 31000 in the field of security management, understanding advantages but also disadvantages of working with ISO 31000 in the field of security management, insight in how 31000 can be applied for security management, and at last insight in the best practice working with ISO 31000 and security management. Why work with the ISO 31000 in security management? By working with the ISO 31000, you work in a standardized way. It makes it easier to explain how you work, not only internally, but also with colleagues who are from outside the organization. Even if that differs from how other organizations perform their work. If you work with the ISO 31000, it makes it also easier to explain how you contribute to the organization's objectives. And we can do this in two ways. First, by the concept of security dividend, and then by the concept of demonstrate added value. Security dividend focuses on business efficiency. The security department should not only focus on security as itself, but also on the primary processes of the organization and see if improvement is possible. Attractiveness for customers. If the security department does their job well, goods are still available and on stock, and the integrity of the stock will be there. So customers can come and order their goods, and the goods that they order are those that they want. Avoiding staff retention. When the personnel is protected also in the right way, staff will stay on their job, and if they feel fine, they will do their job better. Avoiding staff retention is important for organizations so they don't have to hire new people. Discernible corporate social responsibility. Actually, we can say sustainable development goals. Many organizations use those sustainable development goals also as a unique selling point. Security should also be able to contribute to those. For example, equal work, reduction of legal claims. If the security department does their job well, reduction of legal claims will be done, and legal claims at most will not be that big as they were before. Demonstrate added value. Demonstrating the added value of security using KPIs. This can be KPIs that also build upon the security dividend. For example, the efficiency, attractiveness for customers. Substantiation for financing security. If the demonstrated added value is there, it makes it easier also for the security manager to find fundings for their measures. And at last, measure the contribution of security activities and focus on them. When demonstrated added value is focused on the contribution of the security, it makes it easier also for the security manager to show what is done and why it's done, because it's agreed upon. And if they have to do more job, or they have to do some other tasks, they also can discuss about these tasks and ask maybe more manpower or added some value to it with money. But it's not only advantages working with the ISO 31000. So there are advantages and disadvantages working with the ISO 3001 for security management. Advantage. It's easier to roll out measurements in a standardized way. You have an unambiguous way of communicating. Everybody in the organization speaks the same language as they understand the building blocks of the ISO 31000. And it's easier to determine the desired level of work to be carried out, as everybody knows what you're talking about. Disadvantages could be that arrangement in security only address a certain part of it, an individual component, and not at the ISO 31000 as a whole or the security management cycle as a whole. Sometimes also the arrangements that are made, the measures that are taken, do not reflect the actual design and risk of a location. So sometimes Sometimes it's asked more from an organization than is actually necessary. And due to the scale of the ISO 31000, it's not always clear where to start. And when it's not clear to start, sometimes it could be confusing. That's why it's important to know how to apply the ISO 31000 to security management. If we look at that, then we have the security management cycle, as also mentioned in the first video. It starts with strategy, then it has analysis, the goals, the measures, and the assurance that those measures that will be taken are done and carried out as expected. In this way, you always have to be able to explain where do you start. For example, if a security organization does not have a clear policy, then you should start with strategy. And we make the crossover to the ISO 31000. It's very important to tap into the building block of the risk management framework, leadership and commitment. Because most of the security managers, they are responsible, but not accountable. Risk management principles are the next one. You should say, before in the context of the security awareness, that human and cultural factors are important, if this is a finding from your analysis. That's what we can use then for the risk management principle. And at last we have the building block risk management process. This process will see into the scope, the context and the criteria of the organization, and then we can carry through the risk assessment to the risk treatment. If we combine the security management cycle together with the ISO 31000, then we come to security risk management. Coordinated activities to direct and control an organization regarding security risk management. And as I said before, sometimes the ISO 31000 looks like a big process, so it's important to explain where do you start, why you start there, what's your approach, and who will be your allies. Allies in that way are stakeholders that can help you to fulfill the measurements or the goals that you have to carry out. As last, we discuss a best practice, implementing security risk management for an organization operating as an electricity grid manager in the critical infrastructure. The objective of this organization is to deliver energy 24/7 every day without interruptions. The organization has to deal with new threats. Nation-state actors who try to infiltrate on the cyber way, organized crime stealing copper, which disrupts the connections of the current delivery, and pilferages who just try to get an opportunity to steal things from the organization. In this way, they had the new analysis to make using risk management process as a starting point. They agreed upon the ISO 31000 because they found out that the different departments within the organization did not talk in the same way. So management said, we want to make that end, and we use the ISO 31000 as an instrument to talk together and work together on this process. In here, security risk management is also coordinated activities to direct and control an organization regarding security risk management. Most important, in the risk management framework, there was a massive commitment from the leadership to support also and use the ISO 31000 within security management, because they saw that we could be giving a best practice, not only best practice, but also being more efficient in the way things were organized. They steered in this way on improvement, a new design for the security department, and implementation according to the rules of the ISO 31000, in discussion with other departments internally, for example, the IT department. They also made the choice to make a customized way to deal with ISO 31000 and the processes that were needed to deal with the new threats. Doing so, best available information was needed, and that's why a new risk assessment was made. Risks were identified, analyzed, and evaluated and communicated through the whole organization. And here also the same questions played a part. Where do we start? Why we start here? What would be our approach? And which would be the best stakeholders? Doing so, they really started with a new design. They started there because they know that analysis until that moment was not sufficient enough. The approach was that the security department should make the lead together with the IT organization, and the allies in this way were the board members, because they found it very important that this could be in the right way to do. And also they supported ISO 31000 as the new instrument to talk with all parts of the organization. Ending up this course, it means that using the ISO 31000 in combination with the security management cycle will give you a good instrument to deal with threats within your organization. Good luck doing so, and thank you for watching.